Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this cold and rainy evening, at least here it is. This is our first time doing this, as you could tell by my talking with the mute button on. So hopefully you'll bear with any blips that we encounter along the way. But welcome to our virtual meet and greet for the History and Interdisciplinary Studies programs. The reason we decided to do it this way is because we are very much joined, mostly through me, as programs. So it's and a hopeful and nice way, I think, to collaborate between programs and to talk about what we do and what our students do, and why, if you're a potential student, you should come join us here in history or interdisciplinary studies at ECSU. So if we could just go around and everyone on the panel just quickly introduce themselves. I'm Charles Reed. I am an associate professor of history and the program coordinator for interdisciplinary studies. This is my 11th year at ECSU, and I'm a historian of modern Britain and the British Empire, particularly in Southern Africa. Dr. Trick, you want to go next?
Yes, I am Latif Tariq, assistant professor of history and history program coordinator. This is my 3rd year at ECSU and my 2nd year in the history department. I'm a professor of African diaspora history, mainly contemporary history right now, within the last 100 years up until the present, and public history as well.
Dr. Stuckey?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Melissa Stuckey. I have been at ECSU since 2017. I am an assistant professor of African American history and have been working over the past few years on starting the fundraising and work process of rehabilitating our university's Rosenwald School.
And we also have 2 other faculty members that are not currently on right now, Dr. Bowman and Dr. Wong.
So let's do, how about we do alumni next? So Anjane, you wanna go next?
Sure, I don't mind. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ajane T. Willis. I am an alumni of the history department at Elizabeth City State. I graduated in 2017. I'm currently a PhD student in history at the University of Houston. My research specialty is curating the histories of rural Black towns. I mainly study Black community building in the American South and West.
Erica, are you here?
Hi, hey everybody. So I'm Erica Johnson. I am an alum of the lovely Elizabeth City State University. I graduated, I'm a 2020 COVID grad, and I'm really excited to be here and talk more about the great things that the history department does at Elizabeth City. So yeah.
All right, Madison, are you here?
Yes, I am. I'm not sure. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Madison Bond. I'm also a graduate of Elizabeth City State University in history. I am at NCCU right now, and I'm getting my master's degree. Is that light in the way, you all? I apologize.
It's a little bright.
I don't know. I study women and genders history as well as African American history in the United States. I am more community-based, so everything I learn, I take with me in order to do things in the community. Yeah, that's it.
And I think our only interdisciplinary studies alumni, I think, who is here is Miss Franks, who is also doubling as our admissions expert. So Miss Franks, do you want to just say hi?
Hi, my name is Sherry Franks. I'm the Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions here at Elizabeth City State University. I'm also an alum of Elizabeth City State University, non-traditionally. I graduated in 2017 in interdisciplinary studies and just recently graduated with my master's in adult education, December of 2020. So welcome, and I'm here to offer any advice on admissions.
Oh, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, and then so current history students, we have Veronica, do you want to say hi?
Hello, my name is Aaron Wrighton. I'm currently a senior and I'm a history major here at Elizabeth City State University. I am hopefully going to go to graduate school and work on getting a master's at North Carolina Central. That's at least what it looks like right now, or UNC Chapel Hill.
Thanks, Aaron. Veronica, are you here?
Yes, I am just trying to get my camera to work.
Well, go ahead. You can talk without your camera while you're trying to figure it out. If you just want to say hi and
Okay.
introduce yourself.
Okay, there I am. My name is Veronica Downing, and I am a history student at Elizabeth City State University with a concentration in race, gender, and ethnicity studies and a minor in Africana studies. I hope to get my graduate degree at North Carolina Central University. And
All right, Veronica, you're breaking up. All right. So we also have two current interdisciplinary studies students, Leilani Sanchez. Just want to say hi, Leilani.
Yeah, sure. My name is Leilani Sanchez de Armijo. I am an interdisciplinary studies student. I'm on my senior year and I am minoring on emergency management. So.
And also Miss Connie is here. I think Miss Connie, do you want to say hi? She's also an interdisciplinary studies student. Oh, she's waving. You're on mute, Miss Connie.
You're on mute.
I can't judge anyone for that at this point.
No, I just saw it. My name is Constance Weaver Thomas. This is my first year at Elizabeth City State. I am working on my bachelor's. I am a non-traditional student. I live in Maryland and I'm a distance learner. Ms. Franks, you and I have talked quite a bit this and Professor Reed, I'm bugging him all the time. I have truly enjoyed this experience. Ms. Stuckey, I'd just like to say thank you very much for class last semester. You have really piqued my interest. I'm an interdisciplinary studies major. I'm minoring in English, but I'm kind of now on the fence about history. So, you know, I just gonna speak of what I can speak of, but this has really been a great experience so far.
You hooked her, Dr. Stuckey, you hooked her.
Join us.
So we want this to be mostly conversational, but we have this, if I can get this to load, we have this just brief presentation to talk about what the two different majors do. And then we'll open it up to, I think first, the alumni and current students talking about their experiences and why they're doing this and what value they see in it. And then opening it up to any questions that the audience has about either of these programs. And coming to ECSU, we even have Ms. Franks as our admissions expert, so we can answer lots of questions here this evening. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Tariq for this slide.
All right, hello everyone. For those who just joined, I'm Dr. Latif Tariq, Assistant Professor of History and History Program Coordinator. We have two major concentrations, digital and public history. And let me talk a little bit about the public history. So we actually have various classes in public history, and the public history major will lead you to be able to work within the public history sector specifically, and it also prepares you to be a historian. I am a community-based historian in terms of when it comes to public history, and that is I would like to put my focus on the local history first and how that local history ties into the national history. I really enjoy public history because within the field of history, it has a direct career path to employment, in which we would talk about a little later. And then there's just so many fun things that you can do to history and so many fun ways of introducing history to the public. Even though we're academic historians, you can oftentimes do it in a very non-academic way to really make it fun. Race, gender, and ethnicity studies, another favorite subject of mine because I majored in African diaspora history. So within those courses, you would study the African diaspora, African American history, Black women in history from the national and global perspective, every variation of human interaction as it interact with Black people within the human phenomenon. The gender aspect, I really like that. I am certainly one of the historians who have come into the understanding of gender studies within the last probably going on 11 years now. I think it's one of the fastest growing aspects of history that people are now studying. And I think that is because we now have more people who actually look at the aspect of gender and, from my perspective, the direct contributions of Black women within all of these organizations in which they represented. And based on the past election, we saw living examples of Black women organized around electoral politics. So we would definitely talk about that. And then, of course, understanding the different dimensions of race within history itself. The four minors, history, Black Africana studies, and three, the secondary and social study minor. And I do sit on several committees within the education department and the social studies minor along with the education degree. We're really trying to grow that and bring more emphasis to that, especially with the need of teachers in the state of North Carolina. And I am a licensed social studies teacher in the state of Virginia, and I taught middle school and high school social studies for about 10 years.
I would just add that a lot of people think that if you major in history, the only thing you can do is teach. And we'll talk about how there are an infinite number of things that you can do with a history degree. But one thing I would add is that secondary social studies licensure option. If you go to pretty much any school in our service area, you're going to find one of our history majors teaching there. That's where we have lots of alumni, and we're very, very proud of it. And you would be in good company if you did join that cadre. Dr. Stuckey, do you have anything to add on this slide? All right, I'll briefly talk about the interdisciplinary studies concentration. So there are 4 concentrations in interdisciplinary studies. One is community services, which leans heavily on education. Some other options in that concentration are criminal justice, public health, anything that involves you engaging with a larger public. The global studies concentration has a lot of kind of social science and humanities based disciplines in it, notably history and English. Security studies is a mix of homeland security, criminal justice, emergency management. I think sociology is in there. And then if none of those kind of pre-packaged concentrations fit your needs, we have an individualized concentration wherein, well, considering what we have available online, and there are limits, we're a small school, we can't do everything, but you can develop a concentration that suits your interest and really what you want to do with this degree. So there are lots of options as far as how you want to build a degree within the interdisciplinary studies program. The idea of interdisciplinary studies is precisely that, is to develop a major that, if you have interests that are outside of any particular discipline, to engage in multiple disciplines and build a major out of it. All right, Dr. Turek, I'll turn it back over to you.
No, I think you said this one was mine, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Dr. Stuckey, sorry.
Hey, everybody. Again, Dr. Stuckey. So why choose history? This is a question that we ask ourselves often, but we have great answers. And it comes from a place of strength and enthusiasm and real love for the work that we do, our teaching, and our students here. So why choose history at Elizabeth City State University? First is that you will have an individualized experience and a community-oriented experience. We are a relatively small program, and obviously we want more students to join, but because we're in a small university, it's never going to be a place where you don't know your classmates, you don't know your professors. We are very hands-on, we're very accessible. COVID has changed things a little bit, but we'll be getting back to our regular kind of always in the office, office doors always open, always accessible to you come fall. That's the plan. And many of the alumni on this call will be able to attest to the fact that they have access to us. Even me, who started off with a little bit of, I'm not giving people my phone number or students my phone number to text me. There's a bunch of people on this call who have my phone number and text me anytime they want, and it's good, right? It's part of being here. It's part of the spirit of what we bring, what we do, the level of care. We are your professors, we're your mentors, we are your cheerleaders, we are your support system, and we want you to leave here with confidence that you have employable skills, and and that there's a plan for you, and that doesn't end after you graduate. So that attention, that care, that community, those small classes, it really does make a difference. And and it's not just that, but it's the people, right? So the faculty that we have in our program are high caliber on all of those levels, and we communicate with each other. We are, we're all looking out for you, like, like people who care, right? So, and that's exactly who we are. You can see from this the universities that we've graduated from. So these are all nationally and internationally recognized history programs, and they all have their different specialties. And it just really speaks to the commitment of ECSU to history, that such hires are here. We are all engaged in various kinds of research and writing. Some of it is scholarly, some of it is public facing. We share the work that we do with you, so you get a feel for what it is to be a history professor, but we also are always thinking and working with the community as well, and bringing our students into that community engagement. For example, we just hosted a mini conference on African American cemetery preservation, and in 2 weeks, and hopefully y'all know this already, but you don't, you will now. In 2 weeks, we're going to be getting into our cemetery in town. It's an African American cemetery that is from the 1890s, and we'll be doing some cemetery cleanup, and then our students will be presenting on their experiences doing that work. So they're getting, we're actually kind of moving into that experiential thing, right? They're getting that kind of advising and mentoring and opportunities with their faculty to do things that will help them to develop career-ready skills. So in addition to experiences like that African American Cemetery Preservation Workshop, and then the headstone cleaning experience, and that's something that I think we're all still getting emails from the participants asking for more information or using what we did as a model. We have students who are some of our most recent graduates have done summer programs. For example, at Carnegie Mellon University in Pennsylvania, working with scholars there and preparing themselves for graduate school, and learning some new research techniques in digital history and African American history. We also have recent graduates who have done summer internships with the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. Sometimes that will have them in Elizabeth City at the Museum of the Albemarle. Sometimes that will have them at the state capitol in Raleigh, working for the museum there or the archives there. This summer, there must be 6 or 7 different kinds of summer opportunities to work as interns with this department. And they're so varied and exciting. If you're into rural communities, there's an African American farm internship that's history related, right? There's a headstone or cemetery one, again, that's history related. Some are online, some work with kids. There are just so many different kinds of opportunities. And it really opens everyone's horizons about what it is that history majors can do. And that's really exciting. And it also gives our students opportunities to network. So you're meeting people who are looking to hire. There's a reason why the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources particularly has an HBCU internship program. It's because they want to hire us, right? They want to hire our students, and they are getting to know them, they're training them, they're making them, they're preparing them for the workforce. So I frequently will post job opportunities that I see coming available within that department on our email listserv, in part because, students may be graduating and looking for jobs, but even if you're not looking right now, it's nice to see that these are the jobs that are out there, see what they are, see what they require, see that you fill the bill, even with a BA in history. So if you decide that you want to take time between graduate school or undergrad and graduate school, or you don't want to go to graduate school, you can see that there are jobs that you can do right here in the state of North Carolina. And to that, I just want to note that in the state and also federal jobs, like let's say with the National Park Service, which also offers HBCU internships, is that the key word to look for is culture. When you see the word culture, that means history and in the public sphere. So that, that's where, the kind of the code word for looking for jobs that are looking for history majors and people with history skills is culture. So you get so many opportunities. It's actually quite extraordinary for such a small place in a rural place. And part of that is because ECSU has brought here scholars and professors who are invested in public history, they're invested in rural history, and they're invested in African-American history. So in addition to finding opportunities to collaborate, there are people who are looking for us because we're bringing those things to a place that didn't necessarily have them all the time, right? So we're building and we're creating, and that's also really exciting to be a part of, is creating space for culture, aka history, to be produced and engaged in with the public. And there's a real need for that. And then obviously we are an NC Promise school, so we're incredibly affordable, right? And even if you are an out-of-state student, potentially an out-of-state student, we are more affordable than some of the public HBCUs that are right across the border in Virginia. So just be mindful of that as well. And, we are excited to have everyone who's here.
Do you want to talk about any of these, Dr. Stuckey, or just want me to kind of flip through these?
Yeah, so we've got we've got two of our students who actually did the Carnegie Mellon Digital African American History Summer Workshop. Cameron Ariarte, who has graduated and I believe is in graduate school and is also working a public history job in Virginia. I may have the sequence wrong, but I know that that was his path in general. And then Constancia Betty, who is also at Central. So we have a nice pipeline that I hope that I'm really excited to hear that we continue to have students that want to move into MA programs at Central, which actually reminds me that, when I was an undergrad, and this is a lot, this nonetheless continues, is that, I decided I wanted to major in history. That was no question, but I had to kind of explain it to mom and dad. And that's something that we can talk about if anyone has any questions about exactly that. But one of the things that history majors often do is go on to law school. And Central has a law school. So it's entirely possible to do an MA in history and get a JD, or do one then the other. So just to be clear that in addition to history jobs or culture jobs and going towards a PhD and another in history, you can get a JD, you can go into journalism. There are other kinds of professions that really do look kindly and excitedly on history majors because of the skills that we bring to the table. All right, I guess Chaz wants me to do this one too. I don't want to talk too much, but just so you know, these are some of the public history pieces that we've been engaged in. And I'll talk mostly about the Rosenwald School Project, which is our baby. When I got to campus, there was already movement on the ground to rehabilitate this Rosenwald School. And I'm going to ask Chaz if he can just like put some links maybe into the chat box about what Rosenwald schools are so that I don't take up a lot of time. But needless to say that this building is going on 100 years old. And because ECSU was primarily a teacher's college for many years, this building would have been the first independent building on campus that was used as a teacher training school. And you would see people from kindergarten through 8th grade in the community going to this school and being taught by ECSU teachers, school teachers, ECSU students who were practicing their craft. So this school, there are over 800 of them in the state of North Carolina alone, or at least there were. But many of them are either falling apart or have been torn down. So we are making within hours a research center, a cultural institute, a space to gather the history of the Rosenwald schools across the state. So it's a really special place. And so far we've won just under $500,000 to do this work. And we are just about to hire an architect and design firm to help us figure out what it will look like on the inside. And I'm starting to connect with folks who are alumni or the children of alumni of Rosenwald schools from this area. So for example, our former chancellor, Dr. Thomas Conway, who recently passed away, was also a Rosenwald School graduate. And his wife, Mrs. Conway, just called me last night, super late actually, to say, you know, the Lewisburg Alumni Association for the Rosenwald School there wants to talk to me. So we're starting, like I said, talked about we're creating the institutions that the region needs to keep African-American culture. And that's really an exciting space for us to be and for us to grow into. And the New York Times article talks about another project that we've been involved in that is similar. It's about creating space to talk about African-American history in the region and to create programs that draw together students and local people. So we do a lot of work like that in the community.
All right, so why choose interdisciplinary studies? So interdisciplinary studies was our first completely online program at ECSU. We're proud of that. We now have a few online programs, but I like to think the original is best, but don't tell anyone I said that. It's a great opportunity, particularly for students who aren't local or who have other obligations that would make a more traditional degree problematic, right? You have a job, you're a non-traditional student, any number of things, right, that make a completely online degree a more palatable option for you. Interdisciplinary studies, like I said, it provides an opportunity for you to develop a degree and take courses based on kind of where you imagine your college degree taking you. So if you have an interest in education and history, or education and criminal justice, or any number of combinations that help you imagine and help you think about where you could go with this degree and where you want to go with this degree, it makes it really flexible, and it makes it possible to kind of mold it in many ways to your vision. Like I said, we're a small school, so we can't be all things to all people, but I do think we have a lot of really great options in terms of areas of strength in online course offerings. You can start from 0 credits and do interdisciplinary studies now. That wasn't true at the beginning, but it is now. So you can come in as a freshman and do the interdisciplinary studies major and build a major. And I would encourage folks to do that particularly if they're interested in an online degree program. But where interdisciplinary studies has really found its strength is in helping people finish degrees. If you have transfer hours, if you started another program at ECSU or at another school, I can't use everything. Really, things have to fit into curriculum requirements, but it's really possible, and I've seen it happen time and time and time again, of people being able to come in, apply their transfer credits, and use them and turn them into, use them toward a degree that's coherent, that makes sense, that really does something for them. And they finish and they graduate with a 4-year degree. But they didn't have to start over, and that's really one of the beauties of interdisciplinary studies, is that it's great for people who maybe attended ECSU previously, people who attended other colleges and other universities, to be able to bring over those transfer credit hours, and use a lot of them. Not all of them, not usually, but a lot of them. And the other great thing, of course, as was on the history slide, is that this degree is incredibly affordable. If you're in state, it's $500 in state per semester. Sorry, I can't find my words. Which makes it actually, I think wasn't the ranking that came out today affordability? It makes it really an incredibly affordable college degree. It makes it really possible and makes it within reach to be able to achieve a college degree. And really at a place where you're going to engage with faculty who are leaders in their fields, who are active, who are dedicated teachers, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really great deal. Dr. Tariq, you want to take this one?
All right, so career pathways. I really like this slide. One of the reasons I like this slide, because I have actually been employed at several different functions up here. So I got commissioned. I was a second lieutenant in the Army, into a captain. I've been a researcher and an archivist for the United States Army Center for Military History. Of course, I've been a social studies teacher, but I think the pathway slide really shows that there are many different pathways to various careers with a history degree. I posted within the chat room from Indeed.com, which they just posted, I believe, December 2nd, 2020, 10 different popular jobs that you can do with a history degree. And the biggest myth is that the only thing you can do with a history degree is teach. And most people do not want to teach. So because of that, you may not know what you want to do when you come to the university, but one of the things that we're focusing on is helping you to think through what your skill set, your strong skill sets would be by the time you graduate, so that way you can choose a career path. Cameron Iriarte, who just graduated last year, I just wrote him a letter of recommendation because he's going to apply for a summer internship in terms of underwater archaeology. And we actually had, I think it might have been about 2 years ago now, we had a kind of a meet and greet with East Carolina University Maritime Studies Department. And being here in Eastern Coast, North Carolina, we have plenty of water, right? But yet we don't have a lot of people that are trained in the maritime studies, maritime sciences, all of those type things. So being able to look at this, it just gives you a very good idea of the various career paths. And there are many more that are not on the chart.
I would just add that this kind of degree is going to give you skills of reading, writing, research, speaking, understanding, and analyzing information that can't be sort of outmoded, right? They're never going to, those skills are never not going to serve you, right, in the ways that maybe a particular set of technical or professional skills may only serve you for a certain period of time. Right? These are skills that can't be automated, at least not yet.
Yeah, and informational analyst is not on this chart, but it's a very big job for the federal government. Almost every department in the federal government needs some type of information analyst and a history, and they have up there that the history degree is one of the degrees that they're looking for.
And if you look at the statistics, people who major in degrees like history, or throw in interdisciplinary studies if you want, as opposed to the degrees that people see as pre-professional degrees, the people in history and humanities do just as well in terms of earnings and all that kind of stuff, often better than people who get degrees in a lot of those other fields. I mean, say like engineering or something, but so okay, just to give you a couple of examples. So this is the Supreme Court before Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, but to show you the possibilities for law, right? 3 of the Supreme Court justices were history majors. No, 4. Sorry, 4. I can't count. That's why I was a history major, not a math major. This is a slide that just shows various people in business, extremely successful people who came out of history degrees and applied the skills and applied what they learned as history majors. And you might think, well, this isn't history, but that's really the point, right? That it's giving you a set of skills and it's giving you the ability to engage in the world in ways that really prepare you to do a whole bunch of different things. Right? Famous politicians who were history majors, the Attorney General of North Carolina, Kristen Walker, the NBC journalist who moderated one of the debates. This is a screenshot from here. I don't know if she'd be especially pleased with my screenshot, but she was a history major. Erica, your name is misspelled, and I have no idea how I did that. But some of these folks are here, right? Erica is going to be working for the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and she can talk about that. A student who graduated a little bit before I came here was the North Carolina Secondary Principal of the Year, and he's now an assistant superintendent for human resources at a big district in North Carolina. Both Ajane and Madison are here, so they can talk about their experiences and kind of how they've gone from ECSU out to conquer the world. Another student is Marley Putnam, who went on to do a master's degree in Virginia Tech and is now doing work as a waterfront supervisor. She's she oversees the education programs at historic St. Mary City in Maryland. So there are so many things that you can do with this kind of degree. And I mean, we could go on and on about this, and I think that's why I like that the flyer with the list of things, right? Because most of those things people don't think about, right? They think about teacher and lawyer, and they think that's about it. But there are really virtually limitless opportunities with this kind of degree. Oh yeah, we even have a police chief. The police chief in Madison, Wisconsin was an ECSU history major, right? Do you guys have anything to add to that before I go on to interdisciplinary studies careers?
Yeah, and this will apply for interdisciplinary studies as well. I just wanted to note that we're hearing people start to talk again about so-called soft skills, right? And they need to work on that term. And I can imagine that it was STEM folk who came up with the term, which is why it's not really great. But it's coming out of STEM folk who are realizing that the direction of career readiness that was really pushed for hard over the past 20 years is losing a set of skills that are incredibly important and that need to be instilled in folk very early on in their education. And those are leadership skills, the ability to multitask, to brainstorm, to generate ideas, to collaborate, to ask productive questions, to gather and organize information, to process information, to evaluate it and think about it, to make decisions, to explain things verbally and in writing. All of these kinds of skills are the ones that you develop in history and you continue to use them. I mean, when I came up with that list of things that we do is really based on the work that I do every day with my colleagues, whether it's via email or a shared Google Doc or texting or all three, we are creating. And in order to create, you have to do those kinds of things. And it's why you can become a leader in an industry, or, in a few weeks or days, I think we're going to have a speaker come to campus who works for Microsoft, but he was a history major, right? So they're coming to us to ask for Aaron actually to introduce him or to participate in welcoming him to campus, because there is this connection. So you can work for a tech industry and bring a whole set of skills that someone who focused on computer programming may not have, because they were so discipline specific in their focus that they didn't have as much of an opportunity to develop all of the holistic leadership skills, group leader, human resources leader. I mean, part of the way we came up with that career pathways list was going, well, what kind of things have we done? I've done human resources, and that was something that I was easily able to do with my history skills. Labor organizing. So, all of the things that you see on that career pathways, we brainstormed in large part by just looking at the kinds of the careers we've had. And they all really go back to those key things that I mentioned and that Dr. Reed and Dr. Tarika mentioned as well. They're skills that we develop in particular. So, I don't want to beat it over your heads, but I do really want to emphasize that these are skills that people write about in letters of recommendation. They're skills that you can use to talk about yourself and why you are highly qualified. And when you have those kinds of skills, someone can say, well, shoot, we'll teach you how to, put the code in, but we want somebody who can lead the team. And that's not something that everybody can do. So those are just things to think about. And I know that it can be challenging to talk to mom and dad, or even for mom and dad to imagine, well, what can you do with that? And I just want to, really assure everyone who's participating that there are so many opportunities and options. They really do come to you because you have developed skills that make people want to follow you, want to listen to you, appreciate that you can write a paragraph that's cohesive, that you can ask a question that moves the conversation forward, that moves the brainstorming task forward, that helps to create, as opposed to just following following other people's orders. You have a chance to take a lead and actually become the leader within a group.
So I think interdisciplinary studies is also extremely flexible and extremely nimble in terms of being able to do lots of different things with it. And I mean, it's almost trickier in the sense that there are people out there with interdisciplinary studies degrees doing so many different things, and it's not compiled in maybe as useful a way as it is for history, at least yet. But I would say this. If you think about the areas where you want to take classes, if you want to take classes in education, you want to take classes in public health, you want to take classes in criminal justice, those are going to give you specializations in those areas. So there are lots of opportunities across all of those different fields that students in those fields apply to, that are also open to you as someone who has developed this interdisciplinary concentration. And in a way, I mean, you can have an advantage insofar as developing something that's particularly well suited for what you want to do with it or what career you want to pursue with it. So it doesn't lead to, for example, just to give it, so it doesn't lead to, it can't lead to certification, right? Like if you want to do teacher prep, but you can take courses toward that certification and work on it or get a job and secure it by other means, right? But you can work toward those things even if this degree in itself can't offer you that kind of certification. There are a lot of students who are interested in various forms of community service, about working in schools, about working as counselors, about doing nonprofit work, doing all these sorts of things. And they can then sit and think about and say, well, what kind of courses would serve me best? Thinking about, I want to start a nonprofit about children with autism or something, or I want to engage with groups that work with children with autism. And it allows you to really focus and strategize and make this degree useful to you. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's hard for me to sit here and say, what kind of job can you get with this? Because there are, not infinite, but there are thousands of different ways that you could build a degree out of this. But I would say it does give you a particular set of skills of being able to think, being able to read, being able to write, being able to critically analyze, all that kind of stuff that will serve you well. The other big thing about this degree is that a lot of people are simply looking to complete a degree for their own personal reasons, or because that's how they can get promoted in an existing job framework, right? Or they're at a particular place and they want to move up in their profession, but are stuck because of particular sets of requirements. I'm not saying that this is just a degree, because I think it's a lot more than just a degree, and you'll find it invaluable. But that's the reason a lot of people pursue this degree and do so very successfully, that it gives you an opportunity to affordably and using, if you have transfer credits, using what you have to be able to make a coherent, useful degree that you can go out into the world and use. And that's an incredibly powerful thing, and I think a really great argument if you're interested in this kind of degree program. I'd also say I'm sorry that I don't have as many pictures for interdisciplinary studies, because all of my students are online, right? So I don't see them in the same sense that we see the history students. So there may be fewer bells and whistles on the interdisciplinary studies side of this presentation, for which I'm sorry. And also, interdisciplinary studies is a newer degree. This is our 4th year. So we're still working on tracking what our students are doing and what they're achieving. So we're starting to do that, and maybe next time I'll have a much better sense of and be able to present you with a little more on that front. But students who finish the degree, there are lots of them are doing very well, and I think it serves them well. And I think if this is an area of interest for you, it would serve you well. So we wanted to open up this time to let our current students and alumni talk a little bit about why they chose history interdisciplinary studies, what their experiences have been, how they think it has served them or is serving them if they're current, just really anything that you think speaks to the value and importance of these degrees. And then after that, we can open it up to any questions that anyone has about anything. But so if any of you want to come on camera and talk a little bit and make sure you identify which of the 2 majors you're part of. And if you know me, you know I don't like to call on people, but.
All right, hello everyone. I introduced myself earlier. I'm Aaron Wrighton, and I am a history major, and my focus is specifically in digital and public. And sorry, I can't speak today. My focus is in digital and public history in particular. Now, the reason I necessarily chose to be a history major is a little bit personal, and you could say it's a bit more of a philosophical reason than it is of any practical reason, but I wanted to figure out the truth, the reason why things are the way they are, and try to somehow map out exactly how things got to a certain point, and try to understand why things are at a certain point, and not just rely on biases or what I've been told from other people about what have happened, but to actually do the work and research it and find out. That's kind of why I became a history major initially. But as what they were saying earlier, being a history major, it has allowed me to develop a lot of skills which I have found incredibly useful. In fact, it's funny the way I used to think compared to the way I think now from what I have learned being a history major. Like it provides you a lot of good skills in terms of being able to research, in terms of being able to analyze things beyond the obvious. Because a lot of assignments or a lot of activities that we have had to do being a history major involves a lot of deep dives into a lot of sources and information and other things that you wouldn't necessarily figure out or know, and that the average person cannot figure out or know or have the ability to really look into. And those kind of skills are very useful, especially when you go on to do jobs that deal with analysis at all. It can be a policy analyst, you can be a data analyst. There's a lot of jobs out there, a lot of practical jobs that are needed, that need people that involve using those skills of analysis that being a history major will teach you. Trust me, it will teach you those things. That's a big part of it. And at least for me, that's what I've gained the most from being a history major, those skills. Those is being able to read things thoroughly, being able to properly analyze things and be able to pick out information, what this means, what that means, how this works, how that works, and be able to tell what exactly the author or where the source is coming from. Being able to put things in context in such a way that is comprehensive to everybody else around me as well. Like that's what being a history major has taught me. That's what I've gained from it more than anything. More than anything is those skills.
Okay, my name is Sherry Franks, as I told you earlier. I'm the Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions here at Elizabeth City State. To give a little background on my interdisciplinary studies major, I started back at ECSU back in 1992. Had children, got married, said I wasn't going to finish. My oldest daughter was getting ready to start college at ECSU in 2012, and I decided to start back and finish my degree. So I stopped again because I originally started in sociology and that program no longer exists. So then I got in touch with Dr. Reed and he was able to say, we're going to get an online degree. You can still graduate. So I was excited and decided to finish my degree in INDS and said I didn't want to stop and proceeded to pursue my master's in adult education. It's just a story of you're never too old. You can always pick back up and start again and get back out there and do what you want to do. INDS and all of the professors, Dr. Reed especially, was able to really assist me into getting everything done. As far as transferring into the university, we do try and allow as many credits as we possibly can to get you into the program, because it takes 120 credits to graduate and you need to finish at least with 30 credits. At ECSU, we will allow up until 65 transferable credits from a community college and up until 90 overall transferable credits to come into the university. If you ever have any questions regarding what credits transferred in, why or why not, I'm always here. I'm going to put my information in the chat. You can always get in touch with me. I'm always on my email and available. So anytime you need me, I'm here.
I just want to say that you're the best, Ms. Franks.
No, you are.
All right, I'm gonna go next because I have to go. But
That's a good reason.
sorry. I actually want to say thank you to Sherry. She does do an amazing job with the transcripts. I actually am a foreign student that landed in Elizabeth City because of my husband's job in the Coast Guard. But I originally studied engineering, chemical engineering in the University of Sonora in Mexico, like 20 years ago, long time ago. But you know, life takes you to places that you never know you're gonna end up. So it is important that if you did not finish what you started, or if things just didn't work out that way, that this degree can offer that opportunity for you to get back in school. And I mean, with the affordability of the degree, you just can't beat it. So I actually heard in 2000, was it 17, Dr. Reed, when I got to you?
I think so, yeah.
It was the first year.
Yeah, you were in the first. I think you're in the first group even. Yeah.
And I'm here, getting ready to graduate, which I want to say thank you to Dr. Reed for all your patience with me, because I mean, like Sherry said, you are just an amazing teacher and an amazing person, and always is looking up for the students. Like, what do you need? How can we make it work? You know, and with me coming in from a STEM career, which I can see the little bashing over here, but coming from the STEM career, you know, I actually said, Dr. Reed, I want to do the STEM concentration because I have so many credits in science and math that there was that option here also for INDS. And I was like, that is amazing. You know, I can do this. And actually, later on, as I got into, actually, I took a class with Dr. Stuckey, maybe two, I think. And I started liking this research and things that I didn't do when I went to engineering school. You know, when you go to chemical engineering, you see like a bunch of math, science, physics, this, that. You're like really enclosed into that little world. And when you open up that box, it is amazing what you end up learning. And with the classes that Dr. Reed has been able to fit into my path, which is now social and behavioral sciences, as crazy as it seems, um, I actually have become more open and understanding of sociology, you know, why people behave the way they do, why this happened. With the African American history, which I took, I think, 2 or 3 classes, I cannot even remember, you know, it opened up to understanding another culture that I was completely foreign to, and I loved it. You know, so I took actually, I think, sociology and African American history, and then I took another one, I think, African American music. So I really love the way I'm connecting with others, and it is universal because knowing other cultures and other different people, you know, that you were not aware of, it's amazing because you get to understand, you get to make friends with people that you never thought you could make friends, right? So you end up seeing that you have more similarities with others than you ever thought. And it is really interesting, and it is very, very important that in the education field, we have that opportunity to know more cultures, to know more things, why things happen, so people can really connect, because we are very disconnected, especially in schools. I was a high school teacher. You know, COVID happened. I actually live in Connecticut, but right now I'm in Mexico City. I'm not in Mexico City, but in Mexico right now. And we need that education. We need that. We need those skills that Dr. Stuckey was talking about. Those uh, soft skills. We need to start, you know, be critical thinking and analyzing why things happen. Not only trying to find like the mathematical equation that's gonna solve that problem and seeing the data and seeing the dots. You know, we need to know how to interpret that and finding the behavioral portion of it. That's why I got attracted to this. And then with the emergency management minor, I've been always involved into volunteering, you know, and helping others and things like that. So when I saw the opportunity that it was offered, and Dr. is like, can we make this happen? He's like, we're gonna figure out, but we're gonna make it happen. So for me, it was incredible how open uh, the opportunities are. And you just have to be able to kind of like what you like. Really, it really is like what you're passionate about and what's going to be your path forward. And you open to, like Dr. Reed said, it's just so many possibilities. And I mean, I have a lot of great things to say, but I don't want to take the spotlight from anybody else. But if anybody has any questions, if there's any prospect students here in this session, and if you want to reach out, please do feel free to reach out. I can give you so many pointers and talk to you about my experience. If there's any international students here as well, I can, you know, point you to Miss Sherry Franks over here. No, but I can tell you my experience so you can see. And not only I was able to transfer my international credits, but I was also able to transfer my certificates because I'm a translator. And I was able to transfer my certificates on those credits. So it has been a great experience, and I really love everything that I have learned and everything that ECSU has to offer. I never in a million years thought that I was going to get attracted to a social and behavioral science degree coming from the engineering path, but I'm loving it. I really am. I'm going to be super sad to leave in May, but I'm actually super excited that I'm finally done. But like I said, like if there's any prospect students here, please do feel free to reach out. And thank you, Dr. Reed. And Dr. Stuckey and Sherry for helping all the students out, for helping us out. And somebody like me on my later years, on my 40s here, trying to just get that degree. But now I'm like, I'm proud of that degree. Before it was like, I just need the degree, okay? But now I'm like, I'm super proud that I took this step 4 years ago and that I'm now reaching the end. So thank you so much.
So I'm going to speak. I have a son that attends ECSU, and so I'm doing this journey with him. This is my second foray into school, and I could have actually retired from my job last April. So I am kind of all over the place with what is my next journey. I am a contracting officer for the government, so I write. That's what I do. I write, negotiate, and research contracts, and I'm ready to move on from that. I have a daughter who's autistic, and I have worked with her. She's finished her associate's degree. She is a infographics specialist, and she is working on her bachelor's degree. My son is there at ECSU working on his degree in social work. And then I have his twin brother is here with me, and he's working on his degree in finance. So this is a family journey, and this is something I wanted to do for myself personally. I got into interdisciplinary studies by having a conversation with Professor Reed many days. I guess we started out talking about 2 years ago. I was always calling him on my way home from work. So we were on the phone with, I guess I was trying to decide about going back to school and how to do this as a distance learner. Because I took a course here. I got my associates here through a program. And when I brought my son there to tour the campus, and he transferred there from Norfolk State, he fell in love with the school because it's so personal, it's so family oriented, and he just loved it. And I loved it because I love the staff. All the faculty, the staff, anything that I needed in order to help him transition, they have helped. And I decided at that point I wanted to go back to school. And I was very clear that I wanted to go to an HBCU. And I was very clear that I didn't want to necessarily do something online, but I wanted to be connected somewhere. That when I finished school, I wanted to feel like I had a connection to something other than just the degree I earned. So this has been a really interesting journey. I'm still kind of all over the place with what is it I'm going to do next. And when I'm hearing about the opportunities in history, it kind of fits into my path. I love English, and because I write so much, I guess I can figure out how to tie the two. Professor Stuckey, you just made that African American history class so exciting for me. I'm from the Midwest, from St. Louis. I'm 57. Coming up in the 70s, we didn't learn in the Midwest much about our history. And I was blessed in 6th grade to have a teacher who didn't want to teach US history. She wanted to teach African American history. And that is where I first started learning my history. And I've just been thirsting for that. So you just really made that experience special for me last semester. And I have really been in the ears of my kids and their friends about the importance of knowing and learning their history. So I'm kind of on the bubble now, about which direction I'm going to go. And I would like to talk to you in depth with that. But what I would say is, as a distance learning student and going through this whole process, it has been challenging because I work full time and I'm managing a family. And so it has been challenging. It is really about having a desire to get this done and staying focused. So I can agree. Coming into this at 50 something years old, when I just really had decided I wasn't gonna pursue my bachelor's degree, but then having to understand that at some point I'm going to retire and I need to be able to prepare myself for that next journey. And I don't want to be out there and unable to move on because I didn't finish. So I really appreciate it. I have a real quick joke and story. I felt like first semester I was failing everything. I wasn't looking at grades. I was just feeling like I'm gonna just throw some words on the paper. I'm gonna just get my assignments done because that was the heaviest part of my career at that time. Fiscal year is the worst part of my year. And so I was swamped with work. So I was just turning in what I could turn in. And I remember calling Professor Reed and we were talking about registering for new classes. And I told him that I was gonna, I don't know if you remember, and I said I was going to take the, that I thought I had failed the class. And I was just gonna do, I guess I can't remember what it was, but I was just gonna take the pass fail grade. That was my plan, is okay, if I have to, I'll just take the pass fail grade, but I'm gonna just do what I can do and blah, blah, blah. And he told me that I had passed. And I remember telling him I hadn't even looked at my grades. I wouldn't, because I felt like I was just having a horrible experience. And that was in my head. That didn't have anything to do with what I was being taught. It was in my head that I wasn't doing this. And he told me that I had gotten an A in his class and I had finished up the semester with a 3.5. So you all can't even imagine how shocked I was for myself that had happened. But because of that, it has really made me say, I can do this. So if I had to offer anything, it is to really challenge yourself. It is to really believe that you can do it. It is to reach out to faculty, when you feel like you're struggling. Because a lot of times you guys have, really pushed me to just continue. And I would like to make myself available to parents, because as a parent who I have 3 in college. So as a parent who has had to deal with, do you go away to school? Do I keep you close at home? How do I help you make the decisions around what do you go to school to study? What is the future going to hold for you in that? Because I think oftentimes the students or young kids, they go off to college and all they know is I'm going to be on my own. I don't have to worry about anything. And they pick these majors that are just kind of all over the place because it's coming through high school. They really don't tell you. Here in Montgomery County, they really don't tell the kids or help them to explore really what those options are. The career I'm in, contracting and administration of contracting and procurement, this field is so wide. It has so much to offer. The financial rewards are great, but our students, our kids in school don't know anything about it. And so I would want to make myself available to parents who are kind of trying to figure out how to motivate their kids to move forward. Where are they going? What the plans are, and then to help them kind of relax and let go a little bit. So that's about what I got to offer here.
Thanks so much. Ajane or Madison or Veronica, you want to say a little bit?
To say, Ajane, you want to go before me?
No,
Madison, I would love to follow you up. So go ahead, honey.
Okay. As I said, my name is Madison Bond. I'm currently at North Carolina Central. I'm getting my master's degree. I started off at Elizabeth City State University, and just some little background about me so you can see how I got established into history. I'm very community-based. My mom kept me in community projects. I'm from Berkeley County, North Carolina, which is literally like a little hop skip away from Elizabeth City. And ECSU really teaches a lot of kids that come from there. My mom went there. All of my aunts went there. And so me and my sister also went there. My sister served as Miss ECSU, and please don't make me try to remember the date. I don't remember, but she served as Miss ECSU about 2 years after I graduated, so 2019. Yes. But I'm very community based and I like solving problems, and I like solving problems with a team. And so one of the ways that I've always known to solve problems is to know where the problem comes from. And I feel like the only way to find out where a problem comes from is to find that root of that problem. And in the problems that are happening today, the best way to find that is through history. And so I decided to get a history degree. My movement through my history degree, I've always been women-based, always been African-American based. But I wanted to take what I was learning and apply it to the larger community around me. So Elizabeth City gave me the means to take what I was learning and do that. So while I was there, I was also working with Russell Haddad, who was working in the chancellor's office at the time, and we were doing things in the community, basically coming up with ways to get students, faculty, and staff and the surrounding community to come together to solve problems. And right now, I'm actually working on my thesis. It's for Black women educators in Berkeley, North Carolina, during the civil rights movement, and how they came together to solve some of the problems that were going on in the school system. I also worked in public relations. I had an internship at the Museum of the Albemarle, and I was able to do that and just influence children and students to go to the museum. And I just really, from learning history, I've learned that communication is a big thing, especially in the United States. And when you look at the Cold War and how propaganda played a point, learning how to communicate with people is important. And so one of the things that I wish to do with my life and with my career is to teach people to love each other as well as love where they come from. Because a lot of places, while, we need funding, while we need different structures built and things of that manner, we also need to build a love for ourselves and a love for the community that we come from in order to get those things started. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm focusing on Berkeley County in my thesis. And Ajane's she probably won't even go into it, but she was the SGA president while she was there at the school, and I served as her chief of staff. And so I was able to use my communication and writing skills in that position in order to reach students through some of the events and things that we were doing while we were on campus together. I just want to make sure I cover everything. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Oh, and I did see the person in chat. I'm just not able to get to it, but I'm about to send you my email. Okay.
Thanks, Madison. This is making me miss all of you guys, by the way.
I miss you too, Reed.
Dr. Reed, we always miss you. Matt, I'm really, really glad that I let you go first. I was not going to throw that accolade out there, by the way. So let's see, where do I start? I have a little checklist here because I want to make sure that I hit a few points. So again, I'm Ajane T. Willis. My pen name is A.T. Willis. So, there's that. I'm kind of navigating that a little bit now. But so I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I grew up an Army brat. My father was a Black 82nd Airborne man and infantryman. Growing up, I was curious and I was fierce. I needed to know why, and I needed to know how, and then I needed to know where was my place within all of that. I was also, I was a thinker. I was a nerd. I loved geography, and place and people always mattered to me. Experience always mattered to me. And I thought, why is it that people's experiences are not being translated into academia in public school. And so it frustrated me for a very long time. It made me so frustrated that I genuinely had to start doing some of my own reading outside. My father is very much a sociologist, and so we would have these sort of conversations. But I say all of this to say that history chose me because it is literally the only thing that ever made sense to me. It wasn't a choice. I didn't say, okay, well, let me choose this over everything else. I did because I had to, because it was the only thing that called me. It was the only thing that I found that was real. It was the basis of every single thing. Math counts history. English is fictional stories inspired by what's going on in society. Science was created to prove history, but the basis of everything is history. And I also loved it because it's universal. No matter where you are in the universe, no matter where you come from, that thing has a history. And so I thought that was beautiful, and I was so intrigued. And so history chose me, and she hasn't let me go yet. And hopefully she does not, because I'm really deep into this thing now. So let's see, the next thing I was gonna say, why ECSU? Oh, Elizabeth City, I love my alma mater. It is the only institution that was on my list that when I visited, I found that there was integrity there. And not integrity just inside of the people, but as an institution, we have a culture of integrity, that we're not here to just educate you for the clout. We're not here to just say, hey, look at us. We're not here to just get top students. We're here to mold you and change you. And we want you to change us. And we want you to have an impact on your institution. And we want the institution to have an impact on you. The relationship is first and foremost. And then being that we have such a rich history rooted in resistance to white supremacy through education, being that we had such an institutional history of Black community building and even building bridges to try to solve issues with other communities. Literally what's still there is this need to educate the entire student, right? This hand, heart, mind, and this spirit. We want you to come in and be different when you leave. And I was pulled into that. And I love Dr. Reed, but I was seriously pulled into that because I've always just needed the real, y'all. And I'm sure other historians on here feel that, like, cut the fluff, like give me the real. And so I wanted that experience. Also, I wanted to make a brief statement for students who are listening to all of the negative rhetoric about choosing a PWI, predominantly white institution, over an HBCU. And I'm sort of going to make that segue really quickly. I was blessed to be able to teach public school for 3 years while I did my master's in history at Central. I taught at Northern High School in Durham, North Carolina. I taught American History 1 and I taught African American history. And I realized very quickly that there's an anti-intellectual sentiment in public ed. A lot of people don't know that is there, but a lot of conscious teachers that are there know that is there, but the system perpetuates that. And within that sentiment, public school also perpetuates choosing PWIs over HBCUs in the name of diversity, right? But deep down in that, there is deep-seated myths of white supremacy, because if our students are choosing schools because they believe Black institutions are not diverse, that means that you believe that we're all the same, which is not true at all. And so when you take a look at those sentiments, it's dangerous because it is teaching our students self-hatred. It is teaching students that are not of color that certain institutions offer privilege based on who goes there. And that would translate into more opportunities. And so I just wanted to make the brief statement that an HBCU is diverse, and it represents true diversity, not just diversity in color or ethnicity, but it certainly represents diversity in thought. in where you come from. It represents diversity in religion and spirituality, even in fashion, food. I mean, you know, we met some folks that were people of color from all over the place. And then we had some friends that we're like, okay, you know, this right here is community building because, you know, I'm brown, you're not, but it's all love and we can really appreciate that. That sort of thing is healing. And so I just wanted to say that I certainly chose ECSU because it was an HBCU. And then I chose Central because it was an HBCU, and unapologetically so. And so, you know, if you want that sort of experience, hey, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm with my family in South Carolina, y'all. One of my aunts just came in here, y'all, and I love that woman. Forgive me. But yeah, so be strong in recognizing that if you are a student of color, that you need to learn from scholars that are either allies or scholars of color in order to be a scholar of color. And there is nothing at all wrong with that. And so I unapologetically say that I chose ECSU because it was an HBCU as well. And so let me see, y'all. Yes, I have my list because I just want to make sure. Okay. Oh, Dr. Stuckey. Okay. So history versus STEM. I'm sort of in a weird place. I had no idea, and I'm sure Dr. Stuckey can speak to this a little more. I had no idea before coming into the PhD that my niche in history was like, it's only like a few of us out here. I had no idea. I'm a rural historian, and I study within Black and Brown towns in the American South and West. I study in four things. I study Black medical history and its relation to the environment, and how, you know, we navigate environmental racism, how we navigate the health effects of our environment, and, you know, medical experimentation, things like that. And then I also study housing needs, and then I study the Black politics of education. History and STEM is sort of merging for me, but in a way that is really beautiful, because when you have folks that love STEM but also love the humanities part, I just wanted to say that there's space for you to do both, because in the study of medicine only goes so far, and then you've got to have that medical history. I mean, when you go to a doctor's appointment, the first thing that they do is pull up medical history. Literally, we're coming up on issues in medicine and in environmental spaces, right, which are STEM spaces, and they're very highly regarded. They're hitting brick walls because they don't have the skill set to look back the way that we do, and to see trends, and to expose certain things that are causing issues, right? We literally have a set of problems in environmental engineering, and, you know, folks that work with water and all these different STEM majors in environmental stuff, and then in medical stuff. They're struggling. And this is my favorite saying at the University of Houston: you are not getting the results that you need. You don't know, because you need a historian, honey. Like, period. You need a historian. You got all these scholars on this panel, and it's beautiful, but you don't have us. And so if you're trying to really push this thing forward, you got to have somebody that's going to look backward. And so if you want to work, you know, in a STEM field or something like that, I never thought that I would be consulting for certain things now, as far as environmental things and as far as medical things. And then finally, I wanted to talk about opportunities that history offers. The first opportunity that history offers is helping you find out who you are. We can talk about all these external resources, but we got to talk about who you are as a resource inside of yourself. And when you don't know yourself, when you don't know who you are in relation to the geography that you live in relation to the country that you live in, the culture you live within, you don't know how to find resources inside of yourself. And so you can't be a resource to other people, and you can't find resources outside of who you are, because, you know, you have to be that in order to attract it. And so history really helped me to not only find out who I am, but really navigate why I am who I am, and navigate how I can work with other people. Second, history helps you to constantly retool. We evaluate every single thing. And so learning how to evaluate yourself, learning how to take a bunch of information and condense it, learning how to piece information together and find holes are some really unique skill sets that no other disciplines have. And they try to say that they haven't until they keep hitting these brick walls, and then they have to invite us in, which is what they should have done in the first place. But yeah, I want people to know that if you are looking for a genuine education, one that you're going to come out better than you entered in, one that's going to change you and you change it, and then you can use both of those to change society, it's history. And some people call me an elitist. Fine, I've been called worse. But history in essence is what true academia is. Today we have all this garbage that has seeped into academia that is playing itself off like it is, but in essence we really do what academia was set out to do. Minus the money, minus the politics, history is real history, right? We real history. We are in essence what academia is. And I will just say that one, I'm very humbled to have been here. Thank you all for listening. I am at the University of Houston. I'm studying under Dr. Richard M. Mizell, who's a medical historian and an environmentalist as well. He's incredible. If you all ever need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I am frequently flying back and forth to North Carolina. So if you ever need anything, please reach out.
Thanks, Ashley. Erica, has to go. So, Erica, do you want to say a word or two, or did you have to leave? There you are. Yay.
Hey everybody, I don't know how to follow that. That was amazing. Both her, Madison and Ajane did a wonderful job. But I'm Erica Johnson. A little bit about my experience at Elizabeth City State. So I'm from Wake Forest, North Carolina, which is like close to Raleigh. I went to Lewisburg College for 2 years, got my associates and transferred to Elizabeth City. And so what happened was I wanted to be political science when I first got to Elizabeth City, and they had phased that out. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll pick history, right? Like I like history. It's something that is interesting, so I'll pick it. And I had a class with Dr. Reed and I fell in love. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is me. And very much what Anjane said, like it picked me, and it was something that began to like engulf my time. And I'm like, this is me. This is what I want to do. I can't stop understanding that why and wanting to know more and trying to piece, the puzzle together. And so for me, the reason I always will love history is because everything that I do in life, whether it's community organizing, whether it's, working with the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, it all comes back to history. And it's understanding those relationships and how they come together to create a history and to create stories. So Elizabeth City State changed my life. My mom's an alum, my family's alum. So it's something that runs strong in my veins, no matter how bad I tried to avoid it. And look at Winston, Elizabeth City kept throwing me scholarships and telling me to come, and I couldn't turn it down. And I'm really happy I made the decision. But yeah, I thank Elizabeth City. I thank Dr. Reed. I thank Dr. Stuckey and Dr. Tariq for my experience. I am about to start working for, internship. Yeah, so at Elizabeth City, I was a part of the group. Dr. Stuckey talked a little bit about it, but the first group of students that started the HBCU internship for the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources for the state. And that was in 2018. And so my first experience was working at the Museum of the Albemarle. And then I started working in the state archives, and I would have did it last year, but COVID took hold of that. But in a few weeks, I will be starting a position with them as the internship program coordinator. So it's really important to make these connections at Elizabeth City, because if it wasn't for somebody pressuring me and telling me, do this internship, you'd love it, then I wouldn't be in the position that I am. And I'm very grateful for how Elizabeth City State changed my life. And just like Ajane said, you know, I knew that I was going to an HBCU, and I went to Elizabeth City State for that community. For that, I can call Dr. Stuckey at 10 p.m. and I could text Dr. Reed really late and Dr. Tariq, and they'll answer and they'll be there for me. And you know, Elizabeth City is that little star in the East, and it changed my life. So that's my spiel. Thank you, guys.